Do you live somewhere cold and you're going to be shooting somewhere warm, whether hunting or target shooting, and you don't know if your ammo is going to hold up? Consider the heated ammo box from Southwest Action Works. And yes, this is a real problem. Anytime you're going from a lower temperature to a hotter temperature, something in your load is going to change and it could have an impact on target. Whether you're hunting or shooting targets, it's important to know what it's going to do. So I'm going to keep this simple. There's not a lot of moving parts to this, but I'm going to tell you that I've never seen anything like this before. And I have seen people try to do this, whether it's heating blankets, whether it's seat heaters. I've seen a lot of different things, coolers with hot packs. None of those actually tell you what the temperature of your ammo is. And if I'm going to an environment that's 100 degrees, I want to know what's my ammo going to do when it's 100 degrees out so that I might be able to make some kind of change here before I go to that match. So what do we have? Well, inside we're going to have a heated bed system underneath here. We have a thermostat here, or a temperature probe, I should say. And the temperature probe is buried inside of some coffee grounds, which are to simulate powder. And you can also use like cream of wheat or ground up rice or anything that's kind of the same consistency as powder. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend leaving powder in there. And then we're going to seal it up with some caulking. And now this thermometer is going to read exactly, okay, so that is exactly, or at least within reason, what the inside of my case is. And that's what's important. I can heat up a cooler, I can heat up my car, I can put on a heat seater, and I can get my ammo warm, but I never know what it is. This now tells me, and I'm going to be setting it over here. So what we have is we have this control system. It's really simple. There's a couple controls that you don't really want to mess with. The only thing that really matters is to hold down the S button for set. We're going to wait till it says TS for temperature set. We're going to go ahead and hit the set button again, and now it's going to flash the temperature, and I can control this. So if I want to take it down to 90 degrees, let's say, I can take it to 90 degrees, and then you set it with the power button, and now it's going to be set at 90 degrees. A couple things of note. This is just a regular Pelican case. There is nothing fancy about it, so it is not insulated in any way. And that's important to note because if this becomes unplugged, if you disconnect power in any way, it is going to start cooling. I don't want to say quickly, but it's going to start trying to get back to ambient air temperature. While it's better than being out in the air, you have to consider at that point it is like a regular ammo box. It comes with a car charger, so you can plug it into a cigarette lighter. I have it plugged into a wall socket, and I have played with, and when I do my testing, have a 30-foot extension cord that I plug into a 110 plug in the back of my truck, and that's worked great as well. And that's just me playing around at the house here, making sure that it works, because I want to take this out to the range, and my goal is to be able to have this plugged in right next to me so that the temperature is where it needs to be as I'm doing my testing. So the plug-in thing was important. He also has a way that you can hook it up to like a 12-volt Milwaukee or DeWalt battery. I don't have that set up, but I might look into that because it isn't really all that convenient to leave your truck running with a 30-foot extension cord or 25-foot extension cord hanging out of it. But when I put my ammo in here, and when this temperature gives me, or when this thing gives me a temperature, I know that that ammo is ready to go. So if I'm in a environment like I often am, where it's 40, 50, 60 degrees here in Oregon, and I need to go to Phoenix to shoot a match, and it's 90 to 100, I've had to guess in the past. Now I can load up the rounds that are shooting. Like if I have an absolute hammer load, I can put them in here, I can heat them up, and I can go shoot them and see what it would do if I was in Phoenix in that temperature. And there's all kinds of applications. You could do ladder testing with this. You could do ambient versus heated temperature. You could actually just heat your ammo as you travel to matches so that you're always shooting it in the same temperature range. Like there's a lot of different ways that you could kind of apply this system if you wanted to. For me, it's mainly going to come down to testing because I fly and the way I travel, it's not really practical to take something like this. And I would rather just have a load that shoots. But what I probably will do is do something where I see like you could easily go to the range, start with ambient, which might be your first relay, and then you could heat it up to say 80 degrees and then see how it shoots, and then go to 100 where it's 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Phoenix, and now I can see how it shoots. So I can see how it does over temperature ranges. Like there's a lot of different things I can see applications for, and I've only kind of touched the surface with playing with it. But my goal here is I'm going to load up some ammo. I've got a bunch of virgin brass that I need to work through. I'm going to throw it in here and in my ammo box, so I'm going to have the same amount of ambient temperature versus heated ammo, and I'm going to head out to the range in the morning, and we're going to shoot it side by side. I don't know what it's going to do yet. I haven't shot any of this stuff. I don't know how it's going to affect things, but just based on experience, I'm going to say I'm pretty sure it's going to act as if I had a hotter load. So it's going to heat it up. It's going to act like I have another 3/10, 4/10 of powder maybe, depending on the temperature. And I expect to see a speed increase. I don't know what's going to happen to SDs or ESs. And then as far as on target, I'm going to expect some kind of change, whether it's tighter groups, whether it's bigger groups, whether it's vertical stringing, double grouping, like something's going to happen. It almost, I mean, unless you're just in like a magical node that's huge, something has to happen between the two. So I don't know. I think something's going to show up on target. My goal is, it looks like morning temperature should be somewhere in the, I don't know, low to middle 50s. So that'll be my ambient. And then I'm going to set this to around 115. I don't know. It sounds good. It's a nice hot number. So we're going to leave these cooking. I'm going to turn it on in the morning so it has a couple hours to heat up before I leave for the range. I'm going to have it plugged in my car as I'm driving to the range. And when I get to the range, I'm going to leave it plugged into my running truck and I will shoot out of it. So with that, why don't we head out to the range? We are now out here at Douglas Ridge. I've got my case, which is at 112 on the outside, but if I look inside, it's 106. And that's, you know, I've got the piece of brass there, so I've got the ammo that we've got lined up. It is definitely warm. I don't want to leave this open too long, but I have it plugged in here with an extension cord running all the way back to my truck. And then, of course, I have my ambient air temperature ammo out here. So we've got roughly 107 degrees here. We've got whatever current temperature is outside here, which is 55 degrees. So quite a big spread. So we're going to be shooting 65 degree ammo or 55 degree ammo and 108 degree or 107 degree ammo. So let me finish getting set up. Let me get it zeroed up on target. And then we are going to check how the, you know, obviously the speeds, the SD, the ES, all of that compares. And then also how does it print on target between the two. And remember, everything is exactly the same between these. So everything's loaded the same. There's no difference. So let me get set up. Be right back. We'll take a look at these numbers here later. Let me move this because it may not be in the best place. Okay. Now we're going to go back. I came down a minute. That should keep us pretty safe. Let me zoom out just a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and do another 5 at ambient temperature. So that was ambient temperature. Ambient 2. All right. And let me do this before I forget. So we're going to turn off none. No ciders. So now it should go straight to record for us. Let's save this group. And 5 more. And now coming out of the heated box. We're right about the same temperature, right around 105. This range is the worst. There's giant, like 1-inch rocks. It's really hard to get a stable platform on. That was me. No, maybe not. Wow, that's definitely showing signs of being too hot right there. The temperature wasn't horrible. And hot 2. So we're going to give the barrel just a little chance to cool down a bit. We put, essentially 1 string through it, plus my ciders. So we're just going to let it sit, and we'll come back in a few minutes here. Let's take a quick look at the targets now that we've had a chance. Now, because I couldn't save my data, I can't just scroll through photos, so we're just going to do our best here. But we have our first 5, certainly not great. It's a 6-inch group, and it was pretty ugly. But obviously my next 5 were, pretty ugly as well here. So we shot these. Now there was a lot of vertical stringing on this one. And you can see here, it was very vertical, and with the temperature difference, I lost one out the top. So I did make an adjustment so we would be able to come down from that. If we come forward to the next group, so this is going to be back to ambient. So that's ambient. It definitely grouped together pretty good. It was just under 5-inch, so just under half a minute. Group looks like it shot well, and then when we shot the heated, so here's the heated, and then see this double grouping. So this typically would tell me that I need to just bump my charge up a little bit if I saw this repeating, if I saw it happening multiple times. So that it could be an indicator. Some of that vertical stringing and then this double grouping tells me that I might have an issue there. Even when I measure it, what's funny is it's still not the worst group in terms of actual size. Like, it's still about a 6-inch group. It looks worse here, but it's still not a bad looking. I mean, like in the grand scheme of things, it could be way worse. So then we have the next one here, and this one was ambient, and we were looking at just over half a minute here, and then we went to heated, okay, and again we had more vertical stringing. So this vertical definitely came up more than one time, so that it just tells me that it's definitely thrown out of the node there. And then we come in with another ambient for 3 shots, which it's not the greatest 3 shots. And then we have 3 heated shots, 1, 2, 3. So those were a little all over the place. Definitely worse than the ambient. So again, tells me that the hotter rounds would not hold up well. And then we went to the second set of brass, and I shot 9 rounds. And this one we did heated first, just to, so that I'm fair about it. And we went ahead and shot 9. And, honestly, this shot really well until 8 and 9. And, this is just a really good reminder that when a gun falls out of tune, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be consistent. I've seen this plenty of times where it wants to group, and then as it starts heating up, it just pushes you right out of that node at some point, and it starts to open up. I thought number 8 was me. I thought maybe I might have done something, but 9, it felt good, and it was out here. So, I think it was legitimately, something in that heated round right there. And then our final one, which was the ambient. I'm not saying this was any clear winner. That definitely had its own issues. It was a giant group. It was tall. So, who knows? I really don't know. I don't know if it's just this batch of brass it's virgin brass. Maybe there's just something a little bit different about it until I fire it again. So always tough to evaluate based on, based on that kind of stuff. Well, that was actually pretty cool to do out at the range. And I think those are some interesting results. We saw that in general, the SDs and ESs, while by no means great ESs and SDs, really sort of held up across the board. There was, obviously some difference in groups. I think by and large, consistency-wise, my ambient ammo is what I would choose. There were definitely some moments of glory with the heated ammo, but I don't think there was anything that really led me to say, well, I guess it depends how you approach the test. There was nothing in there that led me to say I should heat up my ammo. What it did do, however, is it told me that I might be missing out on an upper node. Now, I don't think that exactly where that was heating up was optimal, and that was right at that 2950 to 60 range. But it is possible there's a node above my normal one, which I know other people shoot, that my gun might actually like. And there's an unexpected byproduct from this. So I was shooting it. I had one test in mind. As I'm shooting it, I see the groups are wanting to really tighten up more than even my standard load was. They weren't quite pulling together. Honestly, I think it needs to be just a hair hotter, and I think they would pull together, not hotter, but like the load itself, not the ammo. But I think it would hold together and come in. But that's a test for a different day. But it does start making me ask even more questions as I see what's happening without having to change an actual powder charge. So, there's another added benefit. So this thing is really making me think. I do tend to leave. I brought this just because I shot out of here. I do put it back in my boxes so that I have everything labeled up. And then what I did is I have like number 2 here, and then I have number 2 here, so I knew which ammo went where, and that's what that was for. He does have very good instructions which walk you through everything that you need to know. And that's about it. So if this is something you're interested in, head to the link in the description below and grab one for yourself. And who knows, might just help you test better, save some components, and maybe place a little better at that next match or get a little more accurate kill. Get out and shoot. We'll talk soon. Have a good one.